So we're going to continue to keep it in the family, so I'd like to ask Sharon to come up, please.
So my husband is the writer of the family, and he sent me 4.5 pages. I condensed it down, don't worry. A little bit of background. There's always been boats in my family. My great uncle had a boat, and I understand was named an honorary Girl Scout for taking a troop out on a boat. My cousin Jimmy always had a boat, and you'll see how this plays in with Lisa. Keep boats in mind. There's also an audience participation aspect of this at the end. First of all, thank you to the party planners, to Rita and Hillary, and Nikki. Thank you so much. And I'm being eyed, my 3 minutes are flying. I'm not sure how everyone else's family gatherings were growing up, but ours were pretty much limited to a radius of about 30 miles from Long Island or Brooklyn. It's not that we didn't know of our cousins outside that limit, it's just that we didn't know our cousins outside that limit. I had gotten to know my cousins Jimmy and Helen growing up, but then as cousins scattered to the diaspora outside this radius, we only had faint imaginings of people procreating in places we would never see. The possible exception was if you were within 2.5 miles of the planned route from Long Island to Bear Mountain or Mexico City, though we might spend an hour with you before we moved on for a planned day's end at a Holiday Inn or something. So while we knew that Jimmy and Judy were procreating in a state that started with the letter M, it might as well have been Mississippi or Montana. We had no idea. When I went out west to graduate school at UCLA and met Greg, we occasionally drove up to Northern California to visit family. Greg's parents and siblings, and lo and behold, my dear cousin Helen and her family. The radius had expanded to 300 miles. And when the details get murky, somehow word must have gotten back to the East Coast that Safe Haven resided in the greater LA area, not far from Disneyland and Hollywood. So, in the summer of 78 or 79, Lisa and her family took a trip to California. The Rosenthals undertook a vacation that took in Southern California, and then I think we're heading up north. Now, National Lampoon's Vacation didn't come out until 1983, but we have it on good authority that Jimmy was an uncredited contributor to the screenplay. Yet, however long they had been bottled up together in that car, by the time they arrived at our door on Shenandoah Avenue in Los Angeles, their faces were absolutely beaming from ear to ear. This definitely was not like any family vacation I had ever been a part of. So we figured it must have been some sort of lithium in the Kool-Aid. We had no idea. Actually, the answer is much simpler. As we went out to the car to help them unpack for their stay for us, we noticed a plastic boat on the shelf of their car. We said, what the heck was that for? Well, it was filled with leftovers from their last outing at an eatery, maybe an In-N-Out burger, which after all was started in the Los Angeles area. Exposed to the sun on the back deck of the car, their leftovers were being kept warm for hours and days. Now it became clear, as Uncle Stuart would describe it many years later, about 20 years later, the Rosenthals had a hamburger glow. Remember that, Greg? Yes, hamburger glow. So wherever they traveled, Jimmy and Judy must have trolled for the nearest burger place. And for meals in between, they had a constantly heated salmonella laboratory within arm's reach. The Rosenthals had clearly evolved to a higher plane. Rather than succumbing to salmonella toxins, it gave them a hamburger glow. That was sustained by the cereal glow in the morning. I have never seen such sugar appear on a child's plate. An Oreo glow sometime in the afternoon, and God only knows what in between. We just remember that glow as they departed to continue on their journey and thinking to ourselves, everything we ever learned about nutrition must be totally wrong. So, if you will indulge me, I have to put this down. My husband had a 50th birthday party. We took him to Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. Many of you know that there's air guitar. In Lisa's honor, I have conjured up air hamburger. Would you all join me? This is going to be done on a count of 3. Let me demonstrate. 1, 2, and on 3 you go, mmm. Ready? 1, 2, mmm. Thank you.
So now we know where those eating habits really began, in the car.